Hey guys, welcome to today's showcase. In today's episode we take a look at bUnit. bUnit is a testing library for Blazor components. This allows you to test your components without needing to do manual tests or writing time-consuming integration tests. In my opinion, bUnit tests are easier and faster to write than the old integration tests, making bUnit one of the most important packages in the Blazor ecosystem. If you're interested in this, make sure to hang around as we're exploring bUnit in this video. The first step in the process is creating a new xUnit project. After this, we want to make sure that we add the bUnit package to the xUnit project and that we add a reference to our Blazor project. Now that we set up our test project, we are ready to write our first bUnit test. For this we will take a look at the counter component. This component is automatically generated when creating a new Blazor project. To start, we want to create a new class in our test project called counterTest. In here we want to create a private field called testContext. We want to initialize this field through our constructor. Now that we have bUnit set up, we can create our first test. This test is called counterHasButton. In here we create a local variable called SUT. This stands for system in the test, and we want to fill it with testContext.renderComponentCounter. This will create an instance of the rendered component with the type counter. In here we can check the HTML and an instance of the counter component. Now that we have the component, we can check if it contains a button. For this we use an assert.single to make sure that there's only a single button, and then we call set.findAll with the CSS selector button. Now that we have the button, we can check if it contains the correct HTML. We can do this by calling button.markupMatches. As parameter, we want to provide a string containing the markup we want to match. If you only care about the text context, you can also use button.textContext and use an assert.equal. Now if you would run your test, you could verify that everything works like we want. Now that we have our basic test set up, we can take a look at how we could inject services, parameters and cascading parameters. To do this, we create a new class called iAverageCountService. And here we create a function called getAverage that returns 5. After that, we just add a service to our dependency container through the startup function. Now that we created the service, we can go to the counter component. In here, we want to create a few things. We want to first inject our service that we just created, edit the parameter for count, and making sure that we're using a cascading parameter. The values for this are not that important, but we want to make sure that we can check it through bUnit to verify that everything works like we want. If we now go back to our test and run it again, we will see that it will fail. This is because we added a service and bUnit doesn't know how to resolve this. We can fix this by going to the testContext.services.addSingleton and then just add the iAverageServiceCount and the average_service_count. Now if we rerun the test, we would see that the test works. Normally I would use a mock or a fake service, but in this case we try to keep the test simple. Now that we fixed the test, we can take a look at the new method. We're creating a new method called startAddParameterCount. In this test we want to verify that if we provide the value 2 for the count, that it also renders 2 in the view. To do this, we again create a new render component from the type counter. But instead we want to call the method with the parameter. This we gonna add c.add and then verify what parameter we want to select. In this case it's count and the value is our constant count. After that we just want to find the first paragraph and then verify if the text is what we want. As you can see, the test passes and we're ready to go to our next test. In the next test we're gonna take a look at cascading values. For this we're going to create a test called cascading name and we're creating a constant called topdef. Then again we are going to call the SUT and the testContext.renderComponent with the type counter. Now we are going to call c.addCascadingValue and then just provide a value. After that we are going to try to get the button again as we did before in our first test and then verify if it contains the correct text. Again, we can do that with markup matches or with button.textContext. If we run the test, we can also see that this test also passes. Now that we looked at the injection parameters and cascading parameters, we are ready to look at our final topic. In this test, we are going to take a look at events on, for example, a button. In this case, we are going to create a test method called click. Then again, we are going to call the render component, and then we are trying to get the button. We also want to verify that the number is correct, so we're going to look at the instance. We can call that with sut.instance. After that, we want to verify that the start value of count is 0. Then we are going to call button.click. This should increase the count by 1. We also want to verify that in our test. After this, we want to make sure that we also work with multiple clicks, so we do button.click 2 times and verify that the value is 3. Now if we run the test again, we can see that they all pass. Before we reach the end of this tutorial, I want to give a small tip. You can inherit from the test context instead of calling it explicit. This makes sure you don't have to add a lot of boilerplate to your test and removes duplications from them. Before we wrap up this video, I want to give a special thanks to Egil Hansen, he's the creator of bUnit. And make sure you hit the star on his GitHub page. If you're interested in bUnit, make sure to check out his documentation and his GitHub page. You can find the links for the pages in the description below. Thank you all for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit the sub and like button. If you didn't like this video, make sure to leave a comment why. And if you have any questions, make also sure to leave them in the comments below.